All right, let's forget about the next big thing in tech for a minute. Today we're diving into something way bigger, a fundamental rewrite of how business actually gets done. This is what happens when AI stops being just a clever tool and starts showing up for work as an employee.
And this right here is the heart of it. A platform like OpenAI's Frontier isn't just another app or a software update. Think of it more like a historical event. It signals a complete shift in the very DNA of management. And yeah, that's a really big deal.
You know, what's so fascinating is how this whole thing kicked off. It wasn't with some massive press conference or a flashy Super Bowl ad. Nope. It started quietly, behind the scenes, changing the entire game before most of us even realized a new one had begun.
You can basically draw a line in the sand now. Before February 5th, 2026, AI was our assistant. It gave us suggestions, it made recommendations. But after that day, everything changed. It became a digital employee, one that could actually take action and get things done, all on its own.
And this brings us right to the new reality for every single person in a leadership role. Your job isn't just about managing people anymore. From this point on, you are the manager of a hybrid organization, a team made up of both your talented human staff and these new autonomous AI agents.
So, let's really unpack what that means. What does it actually look like when something goes from being a simple tool to a fully integrated teammate? Because the distinction, well, it changes everything.
Think about it like this. On the left, that's the old way. AI was like an external consultant, always on the outside looking in. But now, on the right, that's the new paradigm. The AI is inside the workflow. It's not just summarizing the meeting for you, it's actually carrying out the action items, updating your systems, and getting audited just like any human on your team would. And this really hits the nail on the head. For years, everybody was obsessed with building bigger, smarter AI models. But it turns out the real roadblock wasn't about raw intelligence. It was about building the management infrastructure, like an HR system, but for a digital workforce.
So, if the game has completely changed, then we're going to need a new playbook, right? And I'm not talking about a few tips for writing better prompts. This is a whole new framework for management itself.
This new playbook really boils down to three core ideas. First, you've got permissions. What are the ground rules? What can the AI touch, and what is absolutely off limits? Second is context. How does the AI know how to do its job the way your company does things? And third, orchestration. Basically, how do you make sure the humans and the AIs can work together as a single cohesive team? Okay, I want to zoom in on that metal one, context, because honestly, this is the whole ball game. Shared context might be the single most important concept here. It's all about taking everything that makes your company tick, your strategy, your internal processes, even your past failures, and turning it into a knowledge base that an AI can actually understand and use. It's literally how you onboard your new digital employee. And this means managers have to fundamentally shift their skills. We're used to managing people through things like culture, conversations, and shared experience, all those soft skills. But managing an AI agent, that's a different beast entirely. It's all about hard-coded logic, structured data, explicit permission rules, and a detailed audit log that tracks every single thing it does. Which, of course, brings us to the elephant in the room, the topic that probably keeps every leader up at night: control. Because if an AI is now an employee that can act on its own, you better believe you need a firm grip on that digital leash. So I'm going to ask you this directly, and I want you to really think about it for your own organization. Where do you draw the line? At what point does the AI's power to act on its own stop, and a human's judgment absolutely has to step in? This isn't some theoretical sci-fi question anymore. The difference in risk here is it's night and day. When an AI is just a recommender, the risk is pretty low. A human is always the final checkpoint. But the moment it becomes an executor with the power to take direct action, the risk just skyrockets. Suddenly, the consequences of a mistake are very, very real. Let's make this concrete. Think about your finance department. Have you defined the rules yet? Could your AI agent approve a $500,000 invoice without any human oversight? Because if you haven't explicitly written a rule that says no, you might be in for a very expensive surprise. Or how about your supply chain? An AI could probably calculate a perfectly optimal production schedule in seconds, but should it have the authority to actually implement that change by itself? One little miscalculation there could set off a domino effect of failures across your entire operation.
And now let's look at sales. An agent could generate a quote for a major client instantly. But what happens if it gets a decimal point wrong or promises contract terms you simply can't honor? The damage to your reputation could be huge. See? It all comes back to defining that authority boundary.
So here's a little reality check for every leader watching. Don't worry about reading every single item right now. Just kind of scan the list. You'll see things like unified context, permission lists, risk governance. Now the question to ask yourself is, how many of these could you confidently say, yep, we've got that covered today?
Okay, so you ran through that list in your head, right? Well, here's the bottom line. If you had to answer no to more than 5 of those questions, then your immediate priority has nothing to do with technology. It's not about which cool new AI platform to buy. It's about getting your own house in order. You have to build the management foundation first, because without that, all this amazing tech is useless.
Okay, that might sound a little intimidating, but it's totally doable. We've identified the challenge, we've done a quick self-assessment, so what do you do next? Let's get practical. Here are the first 3 moves every single organization should be making right now.
First, you need to officially launch a shared context project. Start systematically documenting your strategy, your procedures, all that tribal knowledge. Second, and this one is non-negotiable, the CEO has to lead the charge on drafting a digital employee permission list. This is about defining power, so it has to come from the very top. And third, don't try to boil the ocean. Run a small, controlled pilot program in a non-critical part of the business to test, learn, and figure this stuff out.
You know, in this new era, what gives a company its competitive advantage, its moat, is going to be completely different. It's not about having the flashiest AI model. Soon, everyone will have access to powerful models. The new moat is going to be your own private data, your unique company knowledge captured in that shared context, and your well-designed governance system that keeps it all under control.
So at the end of the day, this isn't a race to see who can adopt AI the fastest. It's a race to see who can master the art of building a new kind of company, a manageable, hybrid organization where humans and AI truly work together. The question isn't if you should use AI anymore. The real question is, are you ready to become the architect of this new organization?